Hello everybody, it's Slushy and welcome to another video. Today we'll be reviewing Paranormal Activity 2. Just not that long ago we did Paranormal Activity 1 review, so I figured I better keep it going before I lose the excitement for doing this series. Because unless I keep a thing going, I usually kind of lose the energy. So I want to just full steam ahead. So Paranormal Activity 2, I believe, came out a year or so. It might have been 2 years. No, I think it's just 1 year. I think it came 1 year after the first film. First film was a massive success, made like $140 million at the box office. This film came in and then did almost the exact same numbers, if not a little bit better from what I remember. And it's a better film in so many other different ways that the first film couldn't have done, and that's totally fine. Because again, the first film was supposed to be simple. It wasn't supposed to be anything complicated. And I'm not trying to say this film is like super, on a high level. It's still a found footage film. It's still a relatively low budget film. But the things that they were able to do within this film are so impressive. Like, there's so many scenes in this movie where I was like, how did they pull that off? People getting dragged down the stairs and you can't tell how it's happening. Or, that scene in the kitchen where Christie's in the kitchen and all the cabinets just blow open. I have watched that scene a million times trying to figure out how they pulled that off, and I have yet to understand how they have. If they've explained it in some behind the scenes thing, that's probably because I've never watched the behind the scenes videos on the Paranormal Activity things. If they even have them, I've never seen them. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when they were shooting that scene, just because that would give me so much knowledge for my own, filmmaking abilities, knowing how to do certain things while also not obviously doing them. Like having all those cabinets open at the same time couldn't have been easy, no matter how they did it. There's no way that was a super easy process because, I mean, unless they had like some kind of miniature bombs that caused them to blow open like that, I don't know how else you would do that. Like, there doesn't appear to be any strings attached, and if there was, they had to have had like 100 different strings off camera that were completely invisible. I mean, there's several times in the series where I can almost kind of tell how they did a special effect, like in Paranormal Activity 4. The girl gets lifted up, and you can kind of tell that she's on one of those straps that can lift you up into the air. And it doesn't really take me out of the movie because a ghost can, like, if a demon's going to grab you, they can grab you in a million different ways. But they could grab you like they're about to do a wrestling move, like lifting you over their head. Who knows? So it doesn't really take me out of it whenever I can understand it. It's just like the filmmaker in me, or like the indie filmmaker in me, I always try to find an understanding of how they pulled something off because it helps me in my ideas in my career, because I do have aspirations to become a filmmaker at some point in the future. And watching movies sometimes and trying to figure out how they pulled stuff off without actually knowing about it beforehand is always interesting. Like knowing that 28 years later it was shot on iPhones. That's remarkable. Like they basically made a rig with a crap ton of iPhones on it to get a bunch of different angles, and that's how they filmed 28 years later. And I think that's incredible. Like it's not like it's like that's never been done before. The way that they did that film is so unique. And that brings a whole new perspective, basically, that you don't need a whole bunch of like big equipment, big expensive equipment. If you have a good quality phone, you can almost make as good of a film as 28 years later. And I feel like that should inspire people. Yeah, they had a bigger budget than anybody who's probably going to have just a regular iPhone will have. But sometimes you don't need a big budget. You just need a camera, and you need passion and a camera. That's all you need. You don't need a huge budget every time. Sometimes big budgets can cause problems. It can cause you to just base your movie around the budget. Like, oh, I can do this because it's in the budget, or because I can do this because I have enough money to do so, versus just making the movie you want to make because you have so much passion for that movie. I feel like you just enjoy making movies a lot more whenever you do it that way. And these Paranormal Activity movies, oh my God, I love them. They have such a homegrown vibe to them. And that's because that's how it was based. It was just a guy that wanted to make a simple, Paranormal Activity film. And there's several moments in this film that I kind of don't like, or I guess one moment in specific with the dog. The dog really kind of makes me sad because I hate seeing animals being taken out in movies. Like, it's nothing brutal. You don't see the dog super in bad shape. I believe they carry him out and he's limp or something. and that's the most we see. But I think we do hear like a snap, like when the dog is in the next room, you hear a snap, or the dog gets like dragged downstairs. I can't remember which one it is. I can't remember if the dog goes downstairs and it gets killed, or it goes into the next room and you hear a snap. I can't remember which one it was. It's been a little bit since I watched this movie, to be fair with you. It's been at least a couple of weeks. I'm pretty sure it's something like the dog chases the thing down the stairs. It goes to the door that's like all scratched up with the demon marks, and then it gets dragged in there. Door slams, and when they find the dog's dead, or it's in bad shape. I think that's what they say, and they take it to the vet. But that part really just makes me sad. I hate seeing that, and I know it's necessary because you had to deal with the dog in some way because the demon is not just going to let this dog bark at it constantly. Um, and everybody in the family winds up dying, so you can't just have a dog in the house anyways. He would have died eventually himself. So, it's not the worst death I've ever seen in a movie. So if you're somebody who gets queasy about animal deaths, you'll be fine for this movie. It doesn't make me feel sick like some other movies I've seen where they try to exploit animal deaths, which I think is one of the most messed up things you could ever do, even if it is fictional. I think it's just kind of a mockery. Anybody who can like make fun of an animal being murdered, I feel like you got some kind of mental issues. And this film doesn't do that. It doesn't really make a huge. It doesn't put a lot of focus onto that scene. It kind of happens. It's over. It's gone, and then you move on. And it was necessary for the film that the dog had to be removed from the film. I mean, I would have preferred the dog just disappeared and everybody's like, what happened to the dog? That's how I probably would have done it. And of course, I wouldn't have been as interesting. So maybe it would have been better the way that they did it. But that's just personally how I would have made the film. If I would have been making the movie, that's how I would have done it. I just would have had the dog disappear at some point in the midst of everything that's happening, and then everyone just wonders what happened to him. That's how I always prefer to deal with animal deaths, if anything. But Christy, the girl who plays Christy, great actress. I'm not gonna like go into everybody just because I don't know all their names. To be truthful with you, I haven't really. There's only one actress that I know from the series for sure. I mean, two. Katie Featherston, who plays Katie in the first movie, and I know Catherine Newton because she wound up becoming a very successful actress. The only one of the Paranormal Activity series to become a very successful actress after the films. Like, she blew up big time. Like, she went from being just this actress in this really small movie that made just a good amount of money. I believe Paranormal Activity 4 made at least 100 million as well. So it made a good amount of money, but it wasn't like a blockbuster or anything. And then she's been in Ant-Man. Now she's in the new Ready or Not movie. She was in Freaky. She was in what else is she? She's been in like so many different movies. Yeah, I swear I've seen her in like 6 or 7 different movies in the last couple of years. She's been very busy, and that's awesome. This series made somebody into a big star, and that's truly amazing. But the people in the second movie, the actresses and actors, I'm not very familiar with a lot of their names. Like, I don't even know the full name of the girl who plays Christy. I know a lot of the times they actually base the character off of the actor's name, so it very, very well could be her name's Christy. And you know what? Just in the way of not being rude or condescending, I'm going to look up their names just so I can kind of understand this, because I feel like it's messed up to just not name them, especially when they did such a good job. Paranormal Activity 2. Let's go to the cast. Yeah, see, I would have been totally wrong here because a lot of their names are actually nothing like their other names. I was totally wrong. Because in the first movie, Katie is played by a girl named Katie. Micah is played by a guy named Micah. So I kind of assumed that was the same thing here, but no. So the girl that plays Allie, the daughter in this movie, her name's Molly Ephraim. The girl who plays Christy is named Sprague Graydon. She was great. Played a great mom character. I'm not even going to bother with Hunter because Hunter is like a child actress. He was like a baby at this point. So I'm not even going to bother naming him. It's not much acting. He just had to sit there and whine. So I'm not going to give him too much credit there. Brian Bolin, the guy who plays the dad, fantastic character. Like, he was such a good character in this movie. What the fudge? Does that say surveillance camera? What? What did he do in Paranormal? I'm so confused. Is he really cast? Was he really cast as the surveillance camera? That's what it said here on Google. See, this is why I hate AI, because AI is so stupid. What did you do in Paranormal Activity 2, sir? What did you do in the movie? Surveillance camera expert. Okay, so that makes a little bit more sense. See, on Google it only says surveillance camera. Um, but yeah, great acting in the movie. Considering that it's a found footage movie, they were all pretty damn good. I was very impressed with the way that they acted, and they had a very real react. They had a very real reaction to everything. Very freaked out. Even the dad was kind of in denial, which is how I feel most dads are in these types of situations. Like I've read like a million Reddit stories where stuff's happening in people's houses, and the dads are always the ones who are like, "Oh, it's no big deal. It's not that big. It's not nothing to worry about. I'll handle it." And that's how a lot of dads are. They don't really want to admit there's a problem until they literally can't possibly deal with it themselves, and then they finally want to get help. So I feel like that was a very real aspect. He was kind of funny throughout the movie, provided a lot of comedic value to the movie. um, I love the movie. Like I feel like there's not much more I can say about it. Like I don't have any problems with it, except for maybe the dog sequence. But again, it's not really a problem. It's more so just something I would have made differently personally. But yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Like I feel like if you like the first one, you'll really like the second one. It's like a huge step up over the first one. It's more action. It's way more interesting. It's got a lot more intense sequences. It's a lot creepier in my opinion. Like the first one's just a lot of build up and building towards what might happen, and this film's just kind of dealing with what is happening actively. Like basically from the jump, it's like shit's going on right off the bat, and it just progressively gets worse and worse as all these other films do. It's like Five Nights at Freddy. It's like the first Five Nights at Freddy's before Five Nights at Freddy's, which is funny because Blumhouse winds up making the Five Nights at Freddy's movies. But this truly is almost like Five Nights at Freddy's. Every night it gets progressively harder and harder until, the breaking point where stuff's too hard to deal with that everybody just dies. Um, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Check it out for yourself if you haven't already. I'd be surprised if you haven't like somehow stumbled upon one of these films at some point in the last almost 20 years since they've come out, which is crazy to say. Um, some of them are coming up on 20 years. The first one's almost going to be 20 years next year, or in a couple years it'll be 20 years, which is insane to me because I was 9 years old when it came out, and here I am, like here we are, almost 20 years later since that point. Just bonkers. It's bonkers to me. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit like we did. Let me know how you feel about Paranormal Activity 1 and 2, and go check out my Paranormal Activity review. Give it some love and support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.